Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Look Forward. I'm your host, Jay. I'm here with my co-host, Brad.
Hello, Jay.
Hello. All right, we are back. Sorry about last week. Brad got sick, and then when he wanted to reschedule, I got sick. So that was cool. He gave it to me via the internet, so that was cool.
Yep,
appreciate that.
as you do. Yeah, the like I said, universe really trying to make sure that I cannot record podcasts in any way, shape, or form. Doing everything it can to stop me. Not this week, though.
Yeah, derailing our 2023 plan.
Like I said, the only thing that could have truly stopped me this week is if I had won a election as a Democrat in the state of New Mexico. Apparently.
Yeah. Well, look. I mean, I don't know why I even bothered saying, I apologize. We could have just said we did a show. It was just hosted by George Santos, and like you guys missed it.
So I said, I was like, it's a shame like we couldn't get our regular co-host George Santos to
he's always
join the pod this week.
He's been working
TNP co-founder George Santos.
Yeah, he's been working in the background of all the shows since 2011. A lot of people don't know that, including him. It's so funny. I want to talk about George Santos, but I can't figure out when to jump in on that story because I feel like
we have to wait.
Layers.
Yeah, I feel like we have to wait until the bomb drops. Like apparently there were some inklings going around this week that he's involved financially with some not so great folks.
Yeah, some Russian oligarchs.
To the shock of nobody.
I'm like
at all. You know what I mean?
I thought this guy was all about like petty lies, but apparently it's starting to titrate up, which I think is just fucking fascinating. But yeah, it's amazing. I just don't know where to jump in because like today I saw a story where he lied about getting double knee surgery, like for his career in volleyball in college. I'm like, who the fuck lies
to a college he didn't even attend?
Like, what are you doing? What are you like? Why are you lying? Like the guy has a serious issue with like pathological lying. Like it's actually kind of sad.
It's a problem. But the voters selected him, so we can't really do anything about it, according to Kevin McCarthy.
It's amazing. It is amazing. All right, so let's jump right in. It's kind of a big story. A losing Republican candidate in New Mexico is charged over shootings at homes of Democrats. So a lot of people probably sort of tangentially know about this story, which is that I believe it was 5 Democrats in New Mexico have had their houses shot at, right? Nobody's been hurt, thankfully. One of the bullets did, in fact, go into the ceiling of one of the politician's daughter's room, like their 4-year-old daughter, which is fucking terrifying. And so today, it turns out that they think they got their man. It turns out Solomon Pena, a man who unsuccessfully ran for a state house in New Mexico as a Republican last November, was arrested on Monday in Albuquerque for allegedly paying 4 men to shoot at the homes of 4 elected officials. They say Pena.
Wait, what political party did you say he was from? I don't think I caught that originally.
A little hard, shocking, really. Shocking.
I know. Well,
shocking news.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, he's a. Check the notes. Republican. Really? Wow. The 4 men say Pena paid $500 and that he took part in one shooting himself. Yeah, that last part, that's going to be a problem for you, right? Like, it's one thing to pay it. It's another thing to do it too. Because then they can string your ass up in a whole different sort of manner. Here's the thing. This guy lost, I don't know by how many points, but I've seen it described as a landslide. And he lost in a district that was so blue normally that most times Democrats run unopposed. Like, that's how blue it is. Like, it's not going to. But he says it was rigged. He said it was rigged.
I have the numbers. I have the numbers in front of me.
Oh, go for it.
He lost by almost 48 points.
It was rigged, Brad. It was rigged.
It's so rigged.
How could I possibly have lost by 48 points when the entire
against an incumbent, no less? Like it's not like he was like running.
Which never happens. Which never happens.
Yeah.
Incumbents always lose. So yeah, this guy does this, right? He pays these 4 people to and goes along with shooting at these political I don't want to say opponents, just Democrats in general, right? In the state of New Mexico. This is what happens when you poison the well, right? This is what happens when you tell Republicans that everything is rigged. The only way they can win is if Democrats don't cheat, which is nonsense.
And not only that, when you encourage the worst people to run,
yes,
in these races as well, that's also no doubt a part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is really quite interesting that like this guy is so delusional. He was like, "Oh yeah, no, I definitely won. This is all rigged." By the way, I was wrong. Let me correct the record. I said of one of the people's 4-year-old daughter. It's their 10-year-old daughter. Not that it makes much of a fucking difference, but I just want to correct the record here. So yeah, look, I mean, the sad part is this is probably not going to get as much press as it should, because it's like, he's a wacky guy, and like, how do you know any of that other rhetoric affected him? As I look at him holding a gun, eating a cheeseburger, and surrounded.
That's not him. That's one of his alleged co-conspirators that he paid to go.
I'm sorry. That's Jose Trulio. Okay. He's
the picture of Solomon Pena that they have. There's 2 pictures of him. One is in like fucking like baby like army fatigue, like with an army fatigue scarf or something, sweatshirt or whatever around his neck with the fucking like I'm a white trash asshole Oakley sunglasses.
Yeah, well, and then the other one, he's got a rant from his pickup truck, no doubt.
Yeah, and then the other one is of the police conference announcing that they had arrested him with an image of Solomon Pena in a Make America Great Again sweatshirt with Trump flags in the background behind him, just in case you had any misconceptions about what we're dealing with.
Well, he might be a part of the left, all right?
Antifa.
Yeah. Classic secret Antifa, a plant. This guy's 39 years old. And this guy thought that this was a good idea, which is amazing to me. I'm very interested to see what the right does with this. My guess is they ignore it completely, right?
Well, it helps that it's a local New Mexico. Like, this is technically a local New Mexico story that has gone national because of the, political climate that we're in, that's supercharged. Federal Republicans can absolutely ignore this story, though. Like, they don't need to comment on it because they don't fucking know this guy. Like, they're like, I don't know who the fuck Solomon Pena is.
Right.
Never heard of that dude before.
I mean, I could see hold this story in your back pocket, because I can see this getting thrown into Trump's face in a debate or in a town hall or something like that. Like, dude, these are your guys. Like you said in that picture, there's no mistaking that this guy is a Trump guy. He's got the sweatshirt, he's got the flags, he is ready to go. If I'm a person who gets to go to one of those town halls, I want to throw that in his face and be like, you need to answer for this. Why does it seem like it's only your guys, that are so politically motivated from a violence perspective? Like, you could say, oh, Democrats, well, what about fucking Chicago? Yeah, but they're not wearing Hillary t-shirts or Biden t-shirts going, let's, have a gang war. These people are shooting up shit wearing your gear.
I think you'd hear the Republican bullshit of like, going back to like, when all the Black Lives Matters protests were happening.
That's what they always
in all these cities, and said like Antifa was like causing violence and shit like that. Like, never mind that's not the truth, but that's the pivot that they'll go to.
Right. We don't want to talk about the Boogaloo Boys and them trying to quite literally incite that shit, and a number of them actually being arrested.
The police, or just the police escalating things,
right? But
to say nothing of unofficial forces,
right? Exactly. So it is. It's fascinating. I find this story to be fascinating. I'm glad they got this guy. I'm glad they got these other 4 guys. Go to jail, directly under the jail. As far as I'm concerned, this is unacceptable. And you're a fucking.
But again, like, what do you expect though? Like Republicans feel like it feels like that they think that all this shit that they say and all this rhetoric that they espouse and all these things that they claim that they know is bullshit, but they still claim it because it's it's politically advantageous for them. Do they really think that this stuff just kind of exists in a vacuum and that it's not going to trickle out and manifest itself in ways like this that aren't great? Or do you just not care?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I mean?
Like, I really don't know. It to me is very weird, right? It's sort of a very weird thing that they think this doesn't bleed over. Like, I just find that to be bizarre. Part of me thinks that they're not that stupid. Part of me thinks that they realize that it will trickle over. They're just okay with the outcomes.
Yeah.
Or they don't. It's like Trump when it came to January 6th. Well, they're not here to hurt me.
Right. Those are my guys. Like,
those are my guys.
Get rid of the metal detectors. Let them in.
Let them in. Right. So if you think that, Solomon Pena and Jose Trujillo are only going to shoot up Democrats, what are you afraid of? Right. I mean, to me, from a humanity perspective, I read that story and I see, 5 people having their houses shot up as being terrifying, no matter what party they're in, right? I read it as knowing that a kid could have been shot in your bullshit political games, and because they shot at that house at night, like the person was woken up, so people were home. I assume the daughter was in her room. To me, like, again, I wouldn't care if it's a Democrat or conservative or Republican, whatever. That's unacceptable behavior to me. Like, wholeheartedly, I don't understand how anybody can listen to that story and go, yeah, no, that seems fine, or whatever. Like, Republicans made fun of Nancy Pelosi's husband being beaten to death or not beaten to death, but nearly beaten to death with a hammer. Right? They're like, that's hilarious. How the fuck do you think it's hilarious? He's like in his 80s.
Yeah.
He's in his 80s. Like, can you just imagine, take out the political aspects of it, you imagine some crazy person breaking into your grandparents' house and beating your grandfather in the head with a hammer? That's fucked up.
Right. Or they immediately just pivoted to, what do you expect in those Democrat cities and those blue cities with attorney generals like that Chesa Boudin, like he fucking resigned 9 months ago. Like, or he was recalled 9 months ago. What are you talking about?
Right.
Chesa Boudin.
But it's a weird, it's like a weird lack of humanity. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, that's the party in a nutshell.
Right.
It is a completely weird lack of humanity.
Right. I just don't understand it. I don't understand hearing, like, I wasn't upset about the Nancy Pelosi, or was it George Pelosi? I wasn't upset by the George Pelosi story because George Pelosi is married to Nancy Pelosi. I was upset.
Paul Pelosi.
Excuse me, Paul Pelosi. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I wasn't upset because he's married to Nancy Pelosi. I was upset that someone attacked an 84-year-old man with a hammer. Like,
for political reasons.
For any reason. What the fuck is wrong with you? If somebody said, hey man, they broke into, I don't know, Kevin McCarthy's, house and beat his wife with a hammer, I'd be like, that's fucked up. Put that person under the jail. I don't give a fuck what party they're in. So I don't understand this. I don't know how.
There's also not a single Democrat who would be spiking the football on, Kevin McCarthy's wife being attacked.
Never, dude. Never. And they do. And again, like, I had the docket written for last week, but I took a couple stories off because obviously we're a couple days late. And there were 2 stories right in a row, and it was like, GOP, deeply unserious. So, like, they're not a real party anymore. Right. And I know people get pissed. Oh, they have a political agenda. No, they don't. Dude,
as we'll talk about, their political agenda is to literally stick their toes over the edge of a cliff and seeing how far they can scooch before they fall down. Like, that's essentially what their agenda is.
Or be massively hypocritical, right? I don't know if you saw that story. I believe it's Missouri. I took the story off the docket, but at the same party is like, I don't want to wear a mask during a pandemic that you can catch a deadly disease. By the way, your people are still dying from it. There was just a Proud Boy who just died the other day. I mean, shrug. But,
thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, whatever. But again, I don't need to spike the football on that. That was your choice. You decided not to get vaccinated because you thought it was faked. Well, is it? Survey says no. And, but, that's the party who was like, I don't want to wear a mask. I don't want to wear a mask. But in Missouri, they are literally trying to pass a rule in the state house to make women cover up their arms if they're like legislators, like, you can't be in here without a blazer or a sweater on. Why? Are the men in there not able to control themselves if they see an arm? Mm-hmm. Oh, holy shit. Is that a bare arm? I thought you guys loved the bare arm thing. So, like, it's weird, right? It's fucking weird. Like, they don't have any policies. Like, they're all fucking bizarre. And, like, they're now talking about impeaching they're working themselves up to impeach Homeland Security Secretary. Okay, you realize that's not going to go through, right? You're wasting your time.
Oh no, the impeachment might, maybe, but he's not
going to be convicted.
He's not going to be convicted. But I mean, like they just get to make their point, I guess, of like, oh, the border's out of control. Like, all right, like, do you really want to have a trial showing like how we actually are doing a much better job than the previous administration did? Like, look at all the fentanyl we're seizing. You guys know about it because you tweet about it every fucking week. Yeah. So,
yeah. How dare they? Would you like them to let it in? Well, wait.
Yeah. They seize so much fentanyl at the border. Like, this just shows the border policy is not working. It shows it's not working.
What would show that it is working?
Yeah.
No seizures? Because I feel like people are still dying of fentanyl, my guy. It's still very much a thing. Yeah, so, look, I'm glad that guy got picked up. I'm glad those other assholes got picked up. But keep that one in your back pocket. If you ever have a chance and you listen to this show, get a chance to go to a town hall, throw that one right in Trump's face. Hey, dude, what's the deal with this guy? Like, this guy's got your fucking logo on his shirt.
But by the time we get to a town hall debate in a presidential election, no one's going to remember this shit.
I know.
You know what I mean? I mean, you won't forget it, but even if you say the dude's name, they'll be like, who? Oh, like, oh yeah, that guy.
Oh,
like,
Michael Pena? We love that guy in movies. No, the other guy. Come on, man. So we made a prediction, or we did a little bit of guess what's coming. Last week or the week before. I said that we would likely not have a Speaker of the House in the following week, but I was wrong. We did,
and I said it would take 20 votes, and I was wrong. It only took 15 to get McCarthy through. My favorite vote was the 14th vote, where Gaetz and Boebert both voted present, and like they got a standing ovation from the Republican side of the chamber until the reality set in that because they voted present and the other four idiots that were still holding out voted for somebody else, that McCarthy still didn't have the votes. And so they were like begging Gaetz to change his vote to yes. And Gaetz is like, fuck you, I'm not doing it. Where he then almost got attacked by Rep. Mike Rogers, who had to be physically restrained from going after Gaetz.
Dude. The ghost of Chris Benoit was on the floor that night.
He got a criminal crossface put on him.
It's like, you son of a bitch, I'll kill you. I was like, wow, what is happening?
Did you hear the backstory, the potential backstory on that interaction, by the way?
No, I didn't.
So very interestingly, Mike Rogers he was the ranking member. He's now, I guess, can be the chair of the Armed Services Committee. And he was pissed because part of the deal that, like, this backroom deal that Gaetz made with McCarthy to basically vote present so that McCarthy could get the speakership was to get Gaetz voted as, like, to appoint Gaetz as the chairman of a, like, prominent armed services subcommittee that Mike Rogers thought was bullshit because he doesn't deserve it. So he's like, you should go to a more deserving guy that's actually fucking earned this. But because McCarthy needed to be speaker, like, this is some of the shit that Matt Gaetz leveraged into his not even voting for McCarthy, but just not voting for somebody else.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing. That was such a wild moment. I thought at
Yeah.
first when I saw it, I thought it was one of those like digitally altered videos where they like make the presidents dance and do stupid shit. I was like, this isn't real. Like, oh shit, this is fucking NPR. Like, wow. Like, what are you guys doing, man? My favorite part of all of that is seeing there's a moment of like AOC standing like in the background, like slightly shadowed, and she's like, she always has to like fight each other. Fucking do it. Like, it's hilarious. It's such a great look. And then Katie Porter caught reading, you know, what is the name of the book?
The art of not giving a fuck. Not giving a fuck. on the house floor.
And it was hilarious because she was interviewed on, Porter was interviewed on, I forget whose show it was. And they were like, were you really reading that book? She was like, yeah, that was the second book I read through that week while sitting at on the House chamber because we couldn't do anything.
Right. Well, like all they needed me to do was to fucking sit there and then occasionally like Porter, Jeffries. All right, cool. Back to my book. This is great.
Yeah, this book is awesome. So, you know, side note, Porter has now thrown her hat in the ring to take Dianne Feinstein's.
I really am enjoying, like, because she's officially declared, like, there's rumors that Barbara Lee has told people that she's going to run for the seat. Apparently Adam Schiff wants it. I just enjoy that they're not even waiting for Feinstein to officially like be like, I'm not ready. They're just like, get out of the way, you old bag. Like, we don't fucking need you anymore.
I mean, look, as much as I don't know, man. Like, I'm not mad if it's Schiff or Porter. I think they're both great choices. I'd love to see them both become California senators, honestly. But I kind of want it to be Katie Porter for now. Like, I kind of do.
I do too.
I do, because like Katie Porter is a giant dork, which I love. That's what I love about her. Take her and her whiteboard and head for the promised land. But what I really like about Katie Porter is she is not often described in this way, but she is. She's a part of the squad too, right? Like, she's a part of that same group. And to see one of the squad members make it to the Senate already is kind of dope, right? AOC will
it would also be cool just to get the wonk Mega Powers Unite tag team of Katie Porter and Elizabeth Warren together in the Senate for a couple of years.
Well, much like every prominent, allow me to indulge our Star Wars fans, much like all proper Sith relationships, there must be a master. There's a master and an apprentice, right? A lot of people don't know this. Katie Porter is Warren's former student. Yeah, so like,
yep,
dude, and Warren was the first person who was like, she's got my vote. Immediately was like, she endorsed her immediately, which bodes very well, right?
Yeah.
Look, I think she's likely to make it. But
I didn't want to get derailed on this. Yeah. I didn't want to get derailed on tangent. I think the most interesting thing that could happen, and I don't want it to happen, but the most interesting thing that could happen is if Dianne Feinstein were to have to leave her seat early for whatever reason, be it natural causes or just too tired. Yeah. It would be very interesting to see who Gavin Newsom appointed to fill the remainder of the term, because that person, if it was someone that was running, would immediately have like such a huge advantage, because then they become an incumbent essentially.
Yeah.
Or he appoints somebody who's like, look, I'm not running. I'm just here to serve out the term. Like, right. Like just a literal backstop appointment.
I would hope he would do that. Like, don't put your thumb on the scale like that.
Right.
As much as I'd be like, cool, it's Katie Porter, that's awesome, right? Like, but I don't
think it would be. I don't think it
would
be.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be at all. No, I think the smart money would be to just say, hey, this is a person fucking from my team, whatever, that you can trust, right. And you know they're going to do a good job. But I'm only here not to get fired, right? Like, that's the only reason I'm here. I'm just sitting in. You guys run your campaign, and then I'm out. Like, I'm not running at all. I would prefer that. Like, don't put your thumb on the scale. Because actually, if Gavin Newsom is planning on running for president like 2028, you don't want something like that where people are like, remember when you did that thing that was fucked up, dude? Like, don't give people a reason to hate you for no. This is a no-brainer. Put somebody in there. You're getting What, you're gonna get a Republican? No, you're not gonna get a fucking Republican. You're gonna get a super fucking Libby lib Democrat, whoever it is.
Right.
Adam Schiff or Katie Porter are the most likely choices. So just don't put your thumb on the scale. Just like, I'm protecting the seat till y'all come in. Y'all got it. Like, that's all you need to do. But yeah, the Katie Porter news, I was happy to see that. It makes sense. And she raised like over $1 million in 24 hours after.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, people are like,
I mean, it helped. It helps to be first. Like, it helps to be the first one to get out there and
hell yeah.
and
And also,
the ring, so
people like Katie Porter. Like, who the fuck
they do?
Like, they like her a lot. So she'll be fine.
Ironically, it might be easier for her to win a Senate seat in California in the next election than
a House
than to win her district. Yeah, which is weird.
Yeah. Well, it's fucking California. Like, it's way more libs. It's way more libs.
County, like, which kind of skews very 50-50.
Right.
Like, they an elect a Republican, so
right. Nah, she's way better off running for the Senate.
But back to McCarthy. So we told you guys that in order to get the speakership, and we were far from the only people saying this, like, he was going to have to give away the farm. Like, he was going to have to give away a ton of concessions, and boy did he.
Yeah,
boy did he.
So I saw Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's on the Homeland Security Committee.
Yeah.
Fuck, stop giving that dumb power. Paul Gosar, I forget where he is. He's back to where he was before he got booted. He's on a committee now. Look, there are many things that they are concessions that they got. Two of the big ones. I'll go from the least to the biggest. Basically a rule that any move to raise the debt ceiling must also be accompanied by spending cuts. More on that later. We're going to talk about the debt ceiling and the magic ruse that Republicans push every time. For some reason, Americans just refuse to pick up on this. I don't know why. And then the biggest one is McCarthy agreed to lower the number of members needed to call for a motion to vacate the Speaker's chair down to 1 from 5.
To 1. Well, not only that, arguably the biggest thing that he did is, so there's a committee in the Senate who doesn't get a lot of publicity, but it's very important committee, and that's the Rules Committee.
Yeah.
And the nickname for the Rules Committee is the Speaker's Committee, because they're basically the ones who every bill that goes to the House floor kind of has to go by their purview and basically check the boxes to make sure, like, hey, like, this is, this adheres to the rules and this is what we want to be doing and blah, blah, blah. And basically it is kind of said that they are sort of the power behind the Speaker in a lot of ways, because they're the ones that are doing the legwork for the Speaker to make sure that the agenda, the stuff hitting the floor, is correct. Now, crucially, this committee is weird. So, like, normally most committees are proportionately divided based on the difference in the Senate. So, like, Republicans on most committees will have, like, I think 2 extra seats or 1 extra seat above Democrats because of how the House is made up.
Sure.
The Rules Committee always has 9 people from the ruling party's party and 4 people from the other party. And part of the concession that McCarthy had to make was to let 3 of the Freedom Caucus loony birds onto the Rules Committee to make sure. The reason they wanted 3 is to make sure that anything that goes through the Rules Committee won't have enough support with just Republicans combining with the Democrats to get stuff through.
Basically killing it then.
Yeah.
Look, we're in for a really interesting ride in the next couple of months. The debt ceiling is coming up again. We're going to get into that a little bit more later. But it was pointed out, and I think it's a really good point. Anytime Republicans, because of this motion to vacate situation, anytime the MAGA nutcases, and again, it's only one of them. That's it. It's only one. Anytime moderate Republicans join up with Democrats to get something done, that's reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody on the Republican MAGA side can go, rule to vacate, and put the entire House to a grinding halt.
Or just for McCarthy letting it on the floor in the first place, in a situation where he knows, like the debt, and again, like you said, we'll get to the debt ceiling. This is going to be the first. This is true. Like, how much power does McCarthy have? Because
not much.
I'd have to imagine. Well, and that's the thing. Like, I'd have to imagine that there are probably 10 to 12 Republicans who are not insane who would vote on a debt ceiling, a package to raise the debt ceiling, that would vote with Democrats to do it.
Yep.
McCarthy, knowing this, how can you put it on the floor without being very specific and carving out very specific, things to make sure that that doesn't happen?
But he can't even get a clean vote on it. Right. Because they're saying that in order to even move the debt ceiling up, there has to be spending cuts. The Democrats are saying, we're not negotiating on that at all.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you go? You're gonna let the national debt default?
Yeah, and again, bad news for Republicans. Your guys are the ones in charge, so you guys will be the ones that get the blame. I feel like we're getting into the debt ceiling conversation now, which is fine.
Let's just roll with it. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's just go. I think they're betting that Joe Biden will be blamed, but I think that's exactly Biden, what they're betting. Well, but I think that Biden and I think that Janet Yellen specifically are getting out ahead. Like, Janet Yellen basically said, like, hey, like, she told Congress, like, we're gonna hit the debt limit on Thursday.
Yep.
And I can do some magic tricks to get us okay until June. But come June, if you guys don't figure this shit out, we are really gonna be fucked.
Yep. So you're giving you
so just raise the fucking limit.
Here's the thing. Republicans going, oh, we should never do it. Yeah, it was raised like 3 or 4 times under Trump.
Yeah.
Like, you never heard anything about it. You know why? Because it's a Republican.
Yeah.
Just raise it. You know why? Because Democrats go, oh, is it up? It's time to pay our bills? Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Republicans go, oh, it's our guy. We don't want him to get blamed. Just raise it. That's how you know it's not real, right? It's not real. Their views on it aren't real. They're completely dependent on some sort of political machinations. Like, they don't take it seriously.
Their whole thing, and this is where, so like, they try to relate this back to normal Americans, and they're just like, how when you exceeded your debt, like when you've maxed out all your credit cards and this, that, or the other thing, you don't just go out and take more debt. Like, that's irresponsible. So that's not what we're going to do. First of all, the fucking government is not the same as your personal accounting. It's not the same thing. Because
shit is fucking maddening. I hate hearing this. Go ahead.
Because first of all, it's not like the U.S. owes the money to the banks. Like, we're borrowing against ourselves. Like, it's not like it's not like Bank of America's like, hey, the bill's due. Like, right, you gotta pay the bill.
Yeah. Joe Biden doesn't go down to his local B of A and be like, hold on a second, here's the check.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you're borrowing against yourself.
Right.
Because you're the fucking country, you make the money. Like, you can do whatever the fuck you need to do. That's number one. Number two, the analogy doesn't even work. Because the Republican solution to this is, well, we need to figure out what we need to pay for and what we can cut. Because that's the solution out of this problem. When you and if they want to keep the credit card analogy consistent, as I heard someone else say, this is like deciding, like, hey, man, like, I've hit the limit of my debt. I can't afford to pay all my bills, so I'll pay my mortgage, but not my car payment. Like, you wouldn't do that either. Like, that's not
how that works. No.
Because, again, the debt ceiling is you are accounting for money that you've already spent.
Exactly.
Like, we've spent the money. We now have to either pay the debt or raise the limit. And again, raising the limit doesn't matter. What would have really fixed this situation, and it could not have happened because there's enough moderate Democrats who also believe in this nonsense, is just get rid of the debt ceiling entirely. Like, just put a bill into place that says, hey, for the next however long,
20 years,
1 year, 10 years, forever, whenever we reach the limit of debt, the debt ceiling automatically increases by, X million dollars or X billion dollars. Right. And you have an auto trigger, and then you don't have to have this fucking showdown every year.
Yeah.
Or every 2 years, or however long it is.
Right. It's at this point, it's almost every year. And it's I heard an analogy, and I think it's really good as well, which is it's like going to dinner, eating all the food that you want. The check comes, and you go, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm not gonna pay it." Like, no, but you already ate the food. Like, you already did. Like, you already had the lobster, and it's like, yeah, I know, but I'm on a diet now. Yeah, that's irrelevant to what we're talking about.
Here's a fun trivia question for you. Do you know how many countries in the world
that I could guess
have a debt limit that is imposed by the government?
Going with 0.
Well, no, the answer is at least 1 because we're one of them.
No, I meant besides us.
Besides us? No, the answer besides the U.S. is 1.
Oh,
Denmark apparently also operates under a hard debt limit that they're willing to take on. Literally no other country on the planet operates under such nonsense because they understand that it leads to bullshit like this happening.
Yeah, it makes no sense. I don't.
Yeah.
I fundamentally don't understand it. I just fundamentally don't understand why you would allow this to be a fight. Everyone's like, "Oh, Joe Biden mint the $1 trillion coin or whatever." Yeah, that's like silliness. I mean, I guess you could do that. But
the census audits don't let Fidel Castro take a look at it.
Yoink.
If you do.
Yeah, then you're trying to defend that thing like everybody's trying to get the $1 trillion coin. Like, no, don't mint that. That's dumb. But yeah, you just get rid of it. It's a bullshit political fight. Again, Republicans don't even give a shit about it because they don't talk about it at all when Republicans are in charge. Never.
Right.
And by the way, Democrats, I get why they don't make a hay about it, but they should make a hay about it when Republicans are president. Oh, are we raising the debt limit? Really? Like, we should make a fucking big deal.
I think they should do it in a very pearl-clutchingly way.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I don't think they should take it. I don't think they should do it seriously. Like, they shouldn't be like, "Oh, we're going to withhold votes unless you do X, Y, or Z."
No. Like, increase, Medicare for all. Like, no, like, that's dumb. Like, right. You don't do that. But you do point out the hypocrisy and the bullshit that under Trump, I believe it was raised 3 times. And you never heard a single word about it. Trump never made a big deal about it. Republicans in Congress never made a big deal about it. Why? Because it wasn't a thing that they could use to be politically advantageous. They only throw it out there so that people go, "Don't we have enough debt already? But my paycheck in Bank of America," because they don't understand. And they play to that level of ignorance, and it works like a fucking charm. And it drives me crazy how well it works, because I'm like, surely you have heard this dumb argument before, and no one has Googled this? No one has Googled it? Like, it's not hard. And the news actually does a pretty good job. They're like, "But we've already spent this money." It's just, you're literally just signing the check. That's all you're doing. Here you go. Fucking raise.
Well, and the thing is like, for such a stupid thing, like for a fight that is asinine that it even exists in the first place, not doing it would have really bad knock-on effects.
Yeah,
like the U.S. not being a reliable lendee for creditors would be very bad for the world economy.
Well, in this article from The Hill, which is okay at best, that's not great. But they basically said that it would it would take decades, and they're quoting someone else who probably actually has journalistic integrity. They're saying that, like, it would basically plunge the U.S. and the world economy into a massive economic crisis around the world, by the way, because Republicans are willing to, like, play chicken with the world economy now over bullshit, right? Over a false premise. Again, a false premise. But it would also take the U.S. decades to dig their way out. We're already in we are barely clawing our way out of the last economic crisis. You're going to dump the world into a new one? Why? Oh, we'll show Joe Biden. Like, dude, all people are going to remember. Like, I get it. There are going to be a lot of people who go, "Joe Biden did this," right? They'll put the little sticker on the fucking, the local gas station or whatever. I don't know. Like, they'll do that dumb shit. But at the end of the day, when that debate comes up, it's going to be, "You guys did this. We said no. We have raised the debt ceiling under Republican presidents and Democratic presidents, all the same. You guys did this.
Mm-hmm.
Best of luck. Best of luck
trying to like the bad news for
Republicans, really deal your way out of that. Best of luck.
Is Joe Biden's not stupid enough to do what the last guy did and be like, oh, you want to call it the Trump shutdown, Chuck Schumer? You can call it the Trump shutdown. I'll own the shutdown. It's my shutdown. Like, no, like Joe Biden's not going to come out here and be like, yeah, I fucked this up. He's like, no, those guys fucked it up.
Yeah,
idiots.
Yeah, this week's bang on her bullshit article is really fascinating because it's basically about that, right? It's like, nah, yo, he's a lot smarter than people give him credit for. Him and his team are his like real core team. They're playing politics in a way that we have not seen in a long time, even under Obama. Yeah. Like they have figured out what the formula is, and they realize they are aware of the moment. And they know exactly where to move.
It's because it took Obama 4 years to figure out that his approach needs to kind of just be fuck those guys. Mm-hmm. Like he tried to work together too much, and then he realized in his second term he's like, oh, those guys aren't going to fucking help me at all. So fuck them. Like,
right. And he got a lot more.
They can rock.
Right. He got healthcare done, but he got a lot more shit done in that second term. It's just a lot more under the radar. He was like, oh, if we go on TV and hold hands with Republicans, nothing is done. If we talk to them like outside of C-SPAN, they're happy to do shit because they don't want to have to fight with their constituency either. So they're just like, oh yeah, we'll work with you. We'll work with you. Yeah, of course. And then he figured that shit out, and basically the shit that they didn't want to work with him, fuck those guys. And he moved on. And he got a lot more shit done. And Biden has figured that shit out like week 2. It was like, yeah, okay, cool. I gave you a chance.
Well, and it's funny because, like I said, the biggest worry that we had is like, oh, he's going to work too hard with Republicans. Like, and I think to your and my credit, like we were just like, yo, he was there during the Obama presidency. Yeah, it's not like Joe Biden was off like fucking around. Like he was there. He saw what happened. Like like Joe Biden wants to work together, but I don't think it's gonna let him stop. He's not gonna stop trying to do what he's going to do just because he's getting pushback and they can't do it in a very kumbaya sort of way.
Right. And look, all of that is true. But the bigger point of why I think he's so very good, like he's not an amazing president, but I think he's quite good. The thing that gives him the advantage is that he's been in the Senate for a long time. So he knows the machinations of that fucking universe. And he knows it's like, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. They'll cave on that. They probably won't cave on that. Like, he knows just how long it takes. He knows just how long it's going to take Mitch McConnell to kind of move and shake it and figure out his shit. He knows all of that. And so he has way more understanding of the day-to-day in that chamber than other presidents. Yeah. Trump had no idea.
Here's the other big secret that I don't think that anyone acknowledges. And I think a combination of Mitch McConnell being in the minority and the fact that I think Mitch McConnell actually kind of likes Joe Biden is helping things be kind of smooth in the Senate.
He just kind of does. Yeah, he's not there. They don't hate each other. Yeah. And he's been there forever. Mitch McConnell's been there fucking forever.
Right.
And you can't help it, right? Like, you're going to have, when you have some legislative victories that go across the board, right, that help people across the board. Yeah, you son of a bitch. You son of a bitch. Hey, you want to get a drink? Like, the Tip O'Neill fucking bullshit. But that does exist to some extent. It doesn't exist in Congress like writ large anymore. But that kind of stuff did exist. And those guys kind of grew up in that era too. Like, politically grew up in that era. So I'm not surprised. But no, Mitch McConnell hated Barack Obama and everything he stood for. He hated it.
And he hated Donald Trump too.
Yeah, he did.
Dirty little secret. Like, he was happy he was Republican, but he kind of fucking hated that dude.
Yeah, he was like, oh, did he lose? Oh, what do you think about the election today? Oh, the election is how it is, what it is. Like, he never pushed back in any serious manner. He was like, I guess he doesn't have the votes. Like, I wasn't in the room when they said it. Like, he's like, he didn't give a fuck. He was like, get this guy the fuck out of here. Like, I'll hate the Democrats, but like, better than this asshole.
Before we move past the McCarthy thing, there was one kind of concession that he made that went under the radar that I think is very interesting, and I think you're going to see rear its ugly head. Is that he reinstated a rule that let lawmakers propose amendments for appropriations bills, which was not something that they've been allowed to do for a long time, which seems not great. But the other thing is that they are allowed to reduce the salary now of specific government officials.
Well, you know what that's
like
right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's 100%. That they might as well call that the Fauci rule.
The Fauci rule.
Right, like that's all that is. Oh, let's reduce it down to 50,000. Like, what kind of petty shit is that? Like, it's just pettiness, you know? It's just petty. But here's the thing. Who is that for now? Fauci's retired. Who's it for now? Right? Like, these are the like
whoever pisses them off.
Right. But this is the wholly unserious sort of shit. Right? Like, okay, like what are you gonna do? You gonna reduce the salary of the president? Okay, you know Joe Biden is like very rich, right? Like, you know, like who cares, right? Like nobody outside of people in Congress are getting into government to become millionaires. That's what you guys do, right? Like that's the benefit you have, right? You're a secretary.
I think I'm sure there's some Democrats that also have the same.
I'm saying in Congress.
Oh, you're saying
no, all of them. Yeah, no, the Democrat, Republican,
the U.S. Congress.
Yeah, the U.S. Congress, right? Like if you want to make money in government, you go to Congress. You don't go to be the Secretary of fucking Transportation. Like that's not where the money's at. The money is the insider trading shit that you could do in Congress. That's where the money's made. Which is why there's like so few of them who are worth less than $1 million. Like, of course, you'd have to be some kind of fucking hippie dork from Vermont, right? Who's only worth $700,000, or you're an idiot, right? Like, you know, like, or you have, you know, like morals, like an idiot, right? What are you doing there? So yeah, the idea of like reducing the salary of government officials, I don't really see the point of this. I think they were just like, yeah, we're going to show the future Fauci's like he's gone, like he's gone. Who cares? But again, those are the kind of things that they can boast. They can boast to their constituency. Come 2024,
that's all it's for, because you can't just do it unilaterally. Like you can't just do it without the Senate getting on board with you. Like you know what I mean? Like it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, we reduced Dr. Fauci's money down to $30,000 a year, and the Senate said no. Okay. Like, is that going to be a real big hitting point in 2024 going in?
Yeah.
Like,
which also, like, that's why this whole McCarthy thing is baffling to me, because basically the fucking MAGA lunatics were all asking for, hey, Kevin McCarthy, you have to let us take the most unpopular votes that you can imagine that have no chance of actually becoming a law, because there's this other chamber that we don't control called the Senate. It's like, cool. Like, you know, like, hey, we just want to punch ourselves in the fucking balls for 2 years, and you have to let us. And Kevin McCarthy was like, I guess, like, as long as I get to be speaker, I really don't care. Like, it's fine.
and they're like, and the second you tell us no, we're gonna throw you out.
Yeah,
the second you tell us no. And it's hilarious because AOC was, I think it was AOC who was saying, listen, if they do motion to vacate, you'll have 216 Democrats who'll be like, okay. They don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck. So that means you don't even need that many Republicans. You don't.
Yeah.
You just need a handful of MAGA people.
You'll need what, 6, 8, whatever it is.
That's it. Is that Marjorie Taylor Greene, Paul Gosar? Like, you know, like it's not hard to get that 6.
And then we get to have a good time playing back playing Speaker Wars again for the next couple of days.
I don't think that Kevin McCarthy makes it 2 years.
Oh, there's no fucking way. Are you kidding me? I'll put it to you one. I'll put it to you one further. If he doesn't get tossed out by the caucus, if that doesn't happen, I think he quits before 2 years are up, because I think he's going to lose his fucking mind.
Oh, you think he's doing John Boehner? Like he's done.
Yeah. This is going to be the like, he has no clue. Well, I mean, maybe he does have a clue. I don't know. He just wanted to make sure that there was a bust of him in those halls one day. That's all. That's all he cares about. But this is the most fucking monkey's paw situation that ever 100%. Reared its ugly head.
100%. Yeah, fucking fascinating. So, Brad, secret documents.
Yeah,
they're everywhere. They're in Corvettes. They're in the houses. They're in Mar-a-Lago. They're everywhere. Secret documents, secret documents, secret documents. Joe Biden's lawyers on November 2nd of 2022, Joe Biden's personal lawyers unexpectedly discover Obama-Biden administration records at his Penn Biden Center in Washington and notify the National Archives. According to Biden's personal lawyer, Bob Bauer, the president's attorneys are in regular contact with the archives for the next 8 days after that. And from November 2nd, boom, 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 just about every day, they are talking with them, trying to figure out how to return these documents. There's special counsel assigned to this. This is eventually made public in January. What are your thoughts on this? Is Joe Biden going to get his personal house raided?
Well, no, because he's turning them over. Like he's coming to the archives and being like, "Hey, like I found this shit."
Likely excuse, Brad. He just happens to be the president.
So it can both be true that Joe Biden was irresponsible with classified documents,
sure,
and should have been more on top of this stuff. And it can also be true, and is true, that this is not at all the same situation as the Trump document situation, no matter how much Republicans wish that it was. Because again, Biden and his team, not Biden himself, but Biden's team, I'm sure, probably because of the Trump situation,
they checked.
Said to themselves, hey, we should probably check to make sure that, we're not fucking up. And so they, like you said, they found this stuff in the Penn Biden Center. And they went to the archives, and the archives were like, oh shit, we didn't realize we were missing it. Like it's not like we were beating on your door. Like we had no clue that it was even gone, but so cool. Thanks. And I'm sure once they found those, they were like, we should probably check all of his other, all the other places where he stores stuff just to make sure and get on top of it. Because the worst thing that could happen is for the archives to realize, oh, we're missing some shit from the Obama Biden presidency, and for them to knock on Biden's door and be like, hey, you have this. Because then it does become closer to the Trump situation. But again, Joe Biden didn't have the National Archives begging him for months to give back the things that they know that he has, and say, no, I'm not doing it. These are mine. These are my documents, mine. Like you can't have them. They're mine. I own them. And then the National Archives being like, I don't know what to do. And the FBI is like,
we know what to do.
Step aside, Butch. I'll
kick it indoors and shit. Right. Yeah, it is amazing. Like, it's not a good look that this came up, obviously. Right? It's not.
No.
But it is a better look that they're the ones that found it and were like, hey, here's the information. Like here, oh shit, we fucked up. If Trump had handled his documents like this,
it would have been a non-story.
It'd have been a non-story.
Would have been a non-story. Would have been we would have complained about how irresponsible it was that he took the shit with him and the entitlement that he feels of the documents. But that would have been the end of it. Like it would have been a non-story. Yeah. We would have forgotten about it, and it would be a footnote on the very many other things that we can rail against Trump for.
Right.
For the Trump presidency.
Look, I get in the middle of a transition, and I even understand it from Trump's perspective. I get in the middle of a transition, from being president, living and breathing all this shit for four to 8 years, leaving, you're like packing all your shit up, certain shit gets, put in. Now with Trump, it seems like it was kind of more deliberate than not, right?
I'll even be courteous enough to extend to him the fact that he basically left DC with several weeks before his term ended. So he was basically like running the country from Mar-a-Lago for several weeks at the end there. Yeah. So I'll even be generous and say, you know what? I understood why you purposefully took some of the shit with you.
Right.
But that doesn't excuse the fact that you needed to give it back, especially when the archives were like, hey, you need to give this stuff back to us.
Right. Like you could.
This is how this works.
Right. If it was organized and you had it and they're like, it's official, you're no longer the fucking president, during the inauguration, that shit should be on a bus or, you should already have a contact with the National Archives. Like, we have these things, these are all the documents. Here's all laid out. If it turns out that he's no longer going to be president, you know, and we're not redoing the election or whatever horse shit you want to push. If that happens, immediately all of these documents are in your possession. Right? You guys come get them. We send them to you. However it works, they probably come and get them. Right? I got no problem with that. Again, that's a non-story to me. It's not that you took them. It's that when they asked for them, you told them to go fuck themselves, that they're your property. And that's not how it works.
And then you lied.
And then you lied
because they went to go get them. And you're like, oh, here's the documents. And they're like, yeah, we're still missing this, this, and this. And you're like, oh, we don't have them. My lawyer signed and said that we don't have them, even though they were there. And you knew they were there.
Right. So it's not the same as going, oh shit, here are these documents that when I left the Biden-Obama or the Obama-Biden administration, when I left, some of these documents got taken with me. Look, again, I'm not mad that Trump took them. I'm not even technically mad that Biden took them. I'm mad that the process, which when presented with this information, when you realize you had these documents or someone told you that you had those documents, your response is different. That's what actually is the story. The Republicans are like, documents, like that's a one-to-one. But that's not what the story is.
But that has to be their stance because that's the only leg that they have to stand on because they know that the actual story makes Trump look unfavorable. Now, I will also tell you that I am extremely annoyed that it took Merrick Garland for fuck ever to be like, hey, we should probably appoint a special counsel to investigate Trump. Meanwhile, with the Biden story, like he did it within like a week, like lickety split. I'm also annoyed that he had to bend over backwards to find an independent guy to head up the Trump special counsel. But the Biden special counsel, let's literally pick out a Trump appointee in 2 seconds and, you know, and just fucking lay this in there. Now, that could work to his favor because by all accounts, this guy is not a Trump sycophant. And once he actually like looks at the documents that were brought back and says, yeah, there's nothing fucking serious here. Like it's just normal run of the mill bullshit. Like having a Republican voice saying that there's nothing wrong, helps kind of make it look even more nonpartisan, I guess, or even more like they're not.
And maybe that's Garland's point, right? I don't know.
Well, and I think MAGA folks realize this because they immediately started railing against the guy that he appointed as special counsel.
Yeah,
like
this guy sucks.
Classic
liberal. Yeah. Like what?
It's hilarious. But so I don't think anything's going to come of this, but I just think that it's annoying that this is the effect of Republicans working the refs for so long, because looking nonpartisan means we have to be like, when we're investigating Republicans, we have to be so deliberate. We have to be perceived as being fair. We have to make sure that we're doing everything right. But when it comes to investigating a Democrat, fucking whoever, I don't care. Like, let's make this shit happen. Lickety split. Let's go.
Right.
And it was the same thing with Hillary Clinton.
Right. And well, look, and that goes to a thing I've often said about Republicans and Democrats is Democrats are the adults in the room. And everyone in government knows that. It is obvious. Everyone in the media knows that. That is why when it comes time to deal with Democrats, you can deal with them straight up and go, this is the deal, blah, 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 blah. You may like it, you may not like it, but them's the rules, right? When it comes to Republicans, it's always with kids' gloves. Always, because they are deeply unserious. They are the children in the room, man. They are not the adults. They are not. And they get treated that way because all of their actions point to that being the way they have to be treated, because it's like dealing with a small child. You got to couch your language a certain way, because if you say it a different way, they have a fucking tantrum. Right? In this case, oh, here's a person like they're going to be fair to you. Trust me, relax. We got to talk slowly. And then you slowly back out of the room and they start shaking. You're like, oh, fuck. And then they start screaming like crazy. And you go, all right, so you're not going to go to bed now. So, right, like that's the thing with Republicans. They are never seen as the adults in the room. And they get mad at the media and all this other stuff. But you're not. You're deeply unserious. The fact that you guys are running legislation to make sure women cover their arms in 2023 is fucking ridiculous. That's not serious. You got shit to do, and you're like, but girls might show their arms, and I'm afraid. Like, what year is it? That's a deeply unserious thing that you spent time on. And that's what they do, right? You're going to impeach the Homeland Security Secretary. You're not going to get it done. They're not going to get convicted. is deeply unserious.
Mhm.
Oh, the border, but the fentanyl is deeply unserious. So that, look, if anything will be my refrain for the next 2 years of this shit of a house, is going to be that it's run by a bunch of deeply unserious people.
Mhm.
So, best of luck. Here's another thing. Here you go. Deeply unserious.
Case in point.
Case in point. House Republicans want visitor logs for Biden's house, but not for Mar-a-Lago. Well, here, let me sum that title up perfectly. Deeply fucking unserious, because Biden's documents were found at his house. It's not a fucking resort.
Right.
You have visitor logs at your house, Brad? I don't know about you, man. I don't keep visitor logs. Mar-a-Lago does, because it's a fucking club. Like,
And meanwhile, fucking Trump unprompted went out there and was like, "Oh, I've got visitor logs for Mar-a-Lago. Like I keep stringent logs. Like I don't know if you would admit that, my dude.
Like that's, okay, that's can a we bad have idea.
Someone, someone can get their hands on those one day, and that might not look so good."
Again, why would he have them? Like, you're comparing literally apples to oranges. Why would the Biden house have visitor logs? It's a house. Oh, yeah. Well, the White House has it. It's got house in the name. All right. Like, they're deeply fucking unserious. Just deeply, deeply fucking unserious.
Well, and they're forming and McCarthy wants to form a committee to see what these documents were, essentially. That and again, it's going to be twisted and contorted to try to paint Biden the worst light possible and stuff like that. And they're just trying to get ahead of the eventual, the Trump legal jeopardy that he's going to face for this shit. So
100%. Speaking of Donald Trump, unfortunately, Donald Trump lays out his demand for an RNC chair, right? There's a bit of a fight going on between Ronna Romney, and challenger Harmeet Dillon, who is a woman who wears like a head wrap, which I was shocked to see. But on the Water Cooler, which apparently is a conservative podcast. I love that the former president is just doing regular podcasts at this point. This is what he's doing. Like,
well, and going on to like
shitty audio
today on Newsmax, and I'm just like, bros, like this is so sad, but like funny, but still sad, but funny.
Mostly funny. Fuck that guy. So he was on the Water Cooler, again, a podcast. And if he wants to do this show, I would love it. But just know, we're going to push back, and it's going to get you're going to get real mad and probably call us names. And we'll probably call you names, but it's cool. Don't worry.
Yeah. We'll have how does it feel being literally the stupidest person to be elected president of this country?
Silence. Click. Damn it. Did we fuck up already?
Like we shouldn't have gotten so hard in the paint.
Yeah, like, man, we should have probably waited to question 2 for that one. Way to fuck up the interview, Brad. So while he was on the Water Cooler, they asked him, they're like, so, like, what's your deal? Like, Ronna McDaniel or Harmeet Dillon? He's like, well, I like them both. I can honestly say I like both of them. I mean, I get along with both of them. I haven't taken a stance, Let him fight it out, right? Which is his stance to everything. But when going further into it, he says that the thing he would like to see from the RNC, I find this to be fascinating. And I also find it to be telling of something else that I'll get into. Trump says that he would like to see honest elections overnight with voter identification requirements, one-day voting all done on paper, and no mail-in ballots except for, quote, faraway military members and people who are very sick. Okay. Here's how I read that, right? You could say, oh, well, that's obviously for 2024. You're gonna, make sure that there's no mail-in voting and stuff like that. But no, that's not what he's talking about. He's talking about the primary. Nobody but people who are very sick and faraway military members. Well, who votes by mail? What state votes by mail the most? Florida. He wants to make sure that it's a situation that all those old people cannot vote for Ron DeSantis. That's what he wants. That's what that is. Sure, 2024, that's great, whatever. Probably not going to happen. Obviously, Democrats are never going to agree to that bullshit. It's dumb. Also, Republicans aren't going to agree to it because you're gonna fuck over a lot of your constituency, right? That are all aging, like milk. But that's for Florida. That is to stop people from voting remotely or mail-in voting, because that helps Ron DeSantis. That does not help him, and he wants to make sure he can knock Ron DeSantis out as early as humanly possible. And if he can, that is what he will do. He will sacrifice. He will even sacrifice putting himself in a good position for the general election just to beat Ron DeSantis right now. So that's how I read that. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I showed you guys the email that was sent out that are like, hey, it's me, Ron DeSantis. Like, do you think that I could be president? I need money. Give me money, please. And then you're going to like the fine print at the bottom. It's actually going to like a Trump PAC. Basically, if you donate.
Wow.
I love it. I love it.
I think that's what he's trying to do. I don't think this has anything to do with the general election. I think this has everything to do with the primary, because the RNC can control this, right? The RNC can say, all right, there's not going to be any mail-in voting, which is crazy. I think that's a bad idea, but it all depends on whether Ronna McDaniel or Harmeet Dillon are real Trump sycophants. I mean, we already know, obviously, Ronna McDaniel is. I
mean, she literally dropped one of her surnames because he wanted her to. I can't think of any more feckless devotion than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty sycophantic. So, I don't know about Harmeet Dillon. I don't know anything about her, but it does not bode well if he's able to do that for Ron DeSantis. Then he's really fucked.
I'm a little insulted, quite frankly, that you in this race for RNC chair that you talked about these two ladies.
You know what? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I apologize.
Not even throwing any respect on my name for Mike Lindell.
You know what? You're right. I fucked up. He still has a chance.
Rest easy. Vote for Mike.
Is that what it was? Is that his?
No, but it should be.
Oh, okay. That's not bad. That's not bad. Let me read a little bit of a tweet here.
Vote for me, or I'll smother you with a pillow. Mike Lindell.
I mean, that's probably closer to what it is. If we're being honest. Let me read a little tweet.
No cracks in this facade, Mike Lindell.
Oh my God. Speaking of crack, here's a quote from Mike Lindell. 14 years ago on January 16th, 2009, Jesus set me free of crack cocaine and other addictions forever. With God, all things are possible. If you or someone you know needs help, send them to the LindellRecoveryNetwork.org. It's free and online.
Did Jesus set him free, or did God set him free? Like, come on, like pick your spiritual deity of choice.
Any of them. The trilogy. The fucking,
How come the Holy Spirit gets no respect?
It doesn't. I mean,
it's no respect at all.
Yeah, the Holy Spirit's like Rodney Dangerfield.
It's true.
No respect. This picture that he put up,
who is the Holy Spirit anyway? Like, do we know who the Holy Spirit is? Did the Holy Spirit get captured by the Ghostbusters in 1984? Basically, what I'm asking is, was the Holy Spirit Gozer the Gozerian?
The answer might surprise you. I love that he put up a picture of himself when he was high on crack, like on his Twitter account. I mean, he definitely looks better. Is that a right word?
I mean, his crack picture does make him look weirdly like one of my uncles who is also a drug addict. So, like, I feel you there. So,
I mean, look, he's out there, man. He was out there living that crack life. Judge Mathis, TV judge, would definitely have noticed that he was on crack, because that's kind of his specialty. He literally asked a woman, he was like, have you ever done crack? It was nothing about the case that was about crack. And she was like, no. And he was like, never? And she's like, never. He was like, not even a little bit. And she's like, never. And he was like, not even a little bit. And she was like, one time I took a hit. He was like, I knew I smelled crack on you. It's one of the fucking. It's one of the funniest clips of all time.
Judge Mathis, like expert police interrogator, apparently.
Yeah, dude, that guy knows a person's been on crack. Like he said, "quote I can smell crack on you."
What a technique! Really. Okay, fine.
She's like, ah, you got me. I love crack.
It was that third really that knocked me down.
She couldn't take it. She was like, this guy's too good.
Under the withering gaze,
dude.
Of Judge Mathis.
I'll send you that clip. It's got to be one of the funniest fucking things I've ever seen. He often, not to go on too much of a tangent, but he often will hold his gavel like a crack pipe, and like, dude,
oh my god,
he's fucking hilarious.
Who could have imagined that the People's Court would have spawned this weird cottage industry of TV judges on daytime television?
Judge Mathis is a wild dude, man.
Okay, that's the end of the free portion for this week's episode of Look Forward. Make sure you go to lookforwardshow.com/premium. Sign up for premium content. It's only $5 a month or $50 for the full year.